record and we can start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sounds Good to Me. My name is Karen Jones. It's a pleasure to see people joining us. Even we can't see them on the phone, but there are people who are joining in by phone on this lovely Zoom call. And I have the lovely Yee Ley on the other side there. Hi.
Hi. Hi, Karen.
How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to be here.
Yeah. How's the weather over there?
It's been sunny, but I'm in a windy part of New Zealand and kind of 30 minutes from Wellington. And those that know New Zealand,
yeah,
Wellington, known as Windy Wellington.
Yes, I was there, and I was there briefly, like 6 hours a few weeks ago, and it was crazy windy. I mean, we arrived in a downpour. I was like, "Welcome to Wellington." So, but you aren't originally from Wellington. Where are you from originally? So people.
I was born in London, UK, and so I've moved to New Zealand and I've been here now and a resident. How long have I been here? 3 years. 3 years. And so parents Chinese, so I've kind of got a bit of an international flavor.
Yes, you do.
You seem to have as well.
I'm born in America. I'm from New York originally, but I left to live in Europe when I was right out of university, and then I've traveled the world. I'm a singer. I'm a professional singer, and I've been singing professionally for a long time. And I've only recently allowed myself the pleasure of discovering more what the sound is behind all of this music that I do. And though I've been in the quote unquote metaphysical world for many, many years, sound has been in my universe in the last 3 years. I've been exploring more and more and studying and exploring. And Yee Ley, what brought you to sound? Since our conversation is about sound and this is a sound party, what brought you to sound?
Sure, yeah. So that self-discovery. I've been on, I guess, the conscious journey, if you like, since 2007, and just was introduced to the world of energy, metaphysics, like you, and Reiki came into my life, and then I just I was such a shy person, and so the in that realm of self-development, if you like, voice was one of the things. It was just being able to speak up confidently at work. So I was the incredibly shy girl that wouldn't be able to, speak up and say what she wanted to really say. And so through that journey, sound kind of found me, and I guess been exploring more of it consciously since 2010. And more so, and actually offering and facilitating classes. So now I call myself a sound healer and energy healer. So that's kind of where I come in, like energy healing work.
Right.
And the voice and the sounds have really come in through quite strongly since, the 2010, 2012 more so, and actively providing classes and workshops here in New Zealand. And I obviously met you on the Jonathan Goldman.
Yes.
Was it last? No, it's the year before last.
No, it was 2016, wasn't it? Yeah, it was last year.
So that just kind of set me on a rocket.
Right. Yeah. So we met in Colorado with the pioneer, one of the pioneers of sound, Jonathan Goldman. You can look him up. You can Google him because he really is quite extraordinary. What an amazing, was a 9-day intensive, and there were people from all over the world. And it was so powerful. Oh my God, literally life-changing on so many levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we met so many really cool people, and how cool that we're able to have this conversation through the sound waves, or through the web waves.
The web waves, yeah, absolutely. It's the carrier for us, yes.
Right. And sound is such a beautiful energy technique. It's prevalent in our world, and yet we don't acknowledge how it is everywhere, and it really influences such a big part of our lives, but we don't really use it on a regular basis, or use its power. wouldn't you say, Yee Ley?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also aware of that sometimes the sound doesn't have to be audible, and that kind of frequency we're kind of constantly emitting with our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. If you like, have this pattern to it, this energetic pattern that is kind of where are we able to perceive those sounds, and even sounds of nature? What can we perceive on that subtle level that we haven't allowed ourselves to perceive before? And
Right.
how can we play with that, and how can we weave that into our lives more and it contribute?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't really connect with nature a lot, especially city people like ourselves, you know, growing up in the big city.
Yeah.
If we didn't have excursions in parks, I mean, would we even notice? Or, you know, I remember my uncle was a bird watcher. And I was like, oh my God, how boring when I was a kid, right? And but now in retrospect, I'm like, how cool. I mean, he could tell the difference between different bird sounds,
Yeah.
which is really, really quite remarkable. Then I was just reading about in Greece during the World War II, they had created a whole language that was like whistles and sounds. Like they create a language so that they could communicate so no one could understand them. And I was like, holy moly, how powerful is that? You know, the power of sound.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, the whole, you know, I've studied, I speak Italian fluently because I lived in Italy for many years. But the thing that I love about language is that it's really this lovely mixture of melody and percussion and sounds that carry thoughts, feelings, emotions, like you were saying, thought, feeling, emotions, ideas, attitudes, everything in these beautiful languages. I mean, how it's just crazy to me. It's just really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like my preferred language, because I find earth language, for want of a better phrase.
I love that, earth language.
And so I'm kind of like going, what? I'm trying to find the words, but if I can communicate in sound, it's just more freeing. And sometimes can convey the energy better than words can alone.
Right.
So I just love yeah.
Don't you you do an exercise like that in one of your classes? With authentic voice, you call your class?
I do, yes, I do. I run an authentic voice class where we get to explore different sounds. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Tell us about that exercise, because that intrigues me. I'm going to steal this idea.
Absolutely. So, gosh, there's different components, but basically the idea is to invite people to create what we call self-created sounds, as sounds using the voice. And the vowel sounds is the common one people know to just warm up, and then I call it the random, you know, the call and response of random noises. And it's just really loosening up and getting out of the head and to just go blah, blah, blah. And you're like, go, what? But then after a while, people just kind of loosen up a bit and just they make a noise. And it's not about making the perfect noise. It's not about singing the right pitch, sounding fantastic. It's just about allowance of expression. So the random noises, we do animal noises as well, just to, I guess, loosen. And then the made up language is the other part. It's just kind of, then you can, like you said, communicate in this different way, like the Greeks, like in sounds and clicks and whistles, and it's like, it's just like so much easier and it flows. I think when people do that, they really like, yeah, I recognize what he just said, or I recognize that, I get that, and it's really
right. Which brings us to the whole idea that if you're in a foreign country and you say, "Oh, how am I going to understand?" Trust me, you will understand, because language is energy, and we communicate in energy. The words themselves are just they're vehicles for the energy that's behind them, right? Right?
Absolutely.
So when you travel and you're like, I've just traveled all over the world and I've never had a problem in communicating, because language, like I said, it's just a whole nother melody. And if you can just allow yourself to receive the melody, then you'll perceive the what's being communicated. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this like I was watching, I think it was Science of Sound, and there was a panel of, I guess, experts in their field, from the neuroscientist to the kind of sound healer, and they were just discussing about, one of them was discussing about the patterns of sound and language. And we are, I guess, creatures of pattern, and looking for those familiar patterns, and even if we don't understand the language, we know someone's when they're not happy, shall we say. You kind of go, they're not in a good space. You don't have to understand it, but we can hear the patterning and the tones and the melodies of their language that we may recognize. And some of them you may not recognize because we're not being exposed to those patterns. So it's like, is that for example, the focus is that an Israeli yes, when they're kind of saying no, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, wow, is that's a new patterning to get used to and to perceive and kind of play with.
How wonderful is that? I love when science agrees.
Yeah.
They always come a little bit later, but they do kind of, they are paying attention. They are like finally plugging into what the ancients have already discovered a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to broach the topic of harmonics today. I don't know how many people are musically inclined or have ever studied music. If you have ever studied music, then you'll know what harmony is. And when you harmonize, you create these lovely blending of sounds that work harmoniously together, right? Now, harmonics, on the other hand, often called overtones as well. They are present all the time. There is nowhere that there are no harmonics. So any sound you hear has harmonics, which means that it has layers and layers to it. And in fact, if you Google crickets that sound like a choir, I think that would work. You can find on YouTube. Actually, I'll post it at below in the YouTube for this YouTube video, the link that you can go to listen to slowed down cricket sound, and it sounds like a Gregorian chant. I kid you not. It's freaky. It's freaky. So you have this one cricket making a sound, they slow it down, and it sounds like there are all of these voices singing this hauntingly beautiful melody. It's amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty phenomenal. Hey, sounds of nature. And what else can we perceive that we haven't allowed ourselves to perceive before in terms of those sounds? And I guess that's a lot of tribal roots, and they have that listening to the sounds of nature and the drum beats, and that's how they create some of the rhythms, I guess, because they listen to that kind of sound and the earth, I guess, the earth tones, whatever you want to call them. And how much more can we inspire? I guess that's where, I don't know, you can tell me more. Actually, you're the music inspiration is just kind of tapping into all that's around.
Right. Well, I think that the tribal thing is so connected to the earth. In fact, I think you're so right. And what if those tones that we're not necessarily conscious of, that are actually happening, they're plugging into that, to those layers, and then they're bringing them out in all the other instruments.
Yeah, and I feel like it's only been here in New Zealand that I've been more aware of picking out those. Now I know from the course we went on, the harmonics of nature, where I've gone to walk in they call it the bush over here, the forest, and I've just been walking along, and there's been a stream in the foreground, but I can hear like this almost angelic choir in the background. I'm kind of going, I can just make it out, and I didn't know what there was until we talked about it on the course. And I guess the thing we're going to talk about in harmonics, there's a thing called the fundamental note, the fundamental, which is I guess the analogy I've heard people use about harmonics is like the rainbow, and white is the fundamental note, and all the other parts are just the colors of the rainbow. It's just part of that package, like you said. It's just inbuilt in that sound. So the overtone singers can pick out those specific colors if they wanted to, and I think that's what we're saying, theorizing. That's what I was hearing, and the sound of the stream was the fundamental note. So the harmonics I could hear was perhaps the angels, mother choir kind of sounds that were kind of being accentuated. It's like, wow, I wonder what else I can hear.
Wow, how awesome is that? Wow, how cool. Because there's, and you know, it's, you have to really be in nature, because you won't, because I mean, I was just there in New Zealand, and we were in a redwood forest. It was a newly grown. I'd only been around like 40 years or something, or 50 years. And you could still hear the rumble of the highway not too far away. But there was there was silence. You could hear the silence, quote unquote, and then you had all of this movement, the trees, the sounds of the trees, the leaves, the birds talking to each other. And I wonder if it's like this amazing symphony of harmonics and sounds, and what a gift. But we don't tap into it nearly enough. So I'm begging all of you, enjoy your planet, enjoy these sounds, because they're gifts, because not only are they beautiful to listen to, but they're so calming, because we are part of the earth. And a lot of times we forget that we are made of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And having all of these senses, your sense of touch, your sense of your sight, your hearing, your taste, all of it is such a powerful instrument that receives. Not only does it make sound, it also receives sound. So that's just a reminder. So would you like to give an example of how the voice, so everyone can do this. This isn't something that just we can do. Everybody can make their own harmonics. And you have to listen for it, because if your ear's not trained to it, you won't necessarily hear it. Once again, you can go on Google, look up overtone voices, harmonic singers. There's this one lady who's just like ridiculous. She's she has learned how to control her overtones, her harmonics, in a way that she can create melodies. She's amazing. I don't perceive that I want to do that, but I do love how it makes me feel, and how it works with other people too. So would you like to give an example?
Sure. I guess what we were taught on the course, and I call it, and how I introduce it to the people in my class. It's just like playing with the vowel sounds, but the sliding of the vowels, or with some words. So I like I've used Oreo as a word, and then you can exaggerate the word, the vowel. Sorry, the sliding of it. So for example, I'll try and do it now. Okay. So that's kind of me exaggerating the thing, and I'll try to do it again with a bit more emphasis on the harmonics. There we go.
Sounds great.
I don't know if you can hear that, pick that up on the mic.
Yes. It's interesting, because she's moving the overtones, but she's singing one tone. So her quote unquote speaking voice, or the fundamental, is staying on one tone, and then she's changing her vowel sounds, and she's creating a whole nother melody. So basically her voice is breaking into two.
Okay? So there's two ways.
I never thought that was possible.
I didn't. It's great. And I don't know about you, but I've managed to practice with two different areas of and just to note, those people who are trying or haven't tried before, it's not about straining your voice. There's no effort. It's effortless. And it is just the exaggeration of how you pronounce the vowel sounds. And there's one where it's more in the throat area, and there's one where it feels like you're in a nasal cavity. So for example, the throat area, for example, you would yawn kind of thing. And when you do that, and there's that kind of where it feels like your air's at the back of the throat. So is back there. And then the other nasal version is like you're sounding like Miss Piggy. Like, hey, Mr. Kirby. And that's more nasally. So that's the other place where you can do it. And then it's the same thing again when you do it from there. So it's just kind of practicing where you're focusing, I guess, the sound is what I've discovered through playing.
That is so cool. I love when you do that. I love that. I mean, I do mine differently, but I just learned something when you explained it and what you're doing. That is awesome. There are also lots of videos on Google on how to overtone, and some of them are really clear, some of them aren't as clear. So you have to play with it, as Jonathan says, play with it until you find what works for you. So
can we hear yours? How do you do it then?
I do the one that he said to practice on to already get your sound is nurry. So NURRRE. So I'll just do it. So do you hear it?
Nice, yeah.
Because it's right above. So it's like doing this. It almost sounds alien. So it's even more interesting because it's like, oh my God, it sounds so alien. But it's not. It's our own personal sound.
Absolutely. And I guess because the shape of our mouth is different, of I guess the throat and the neck muscle is different, and the way we're built is different. So it's going to have a slightly different flavor.
Right. And then, you know, if you wanted to get that nasal thing going, because it will help the sound a lot too. You play with it. There's a lot you can do with it, but I'm going to tell you something about using it in like a meditation. So I have been a little bit more, what's the word? I do it more often. I didn't do it as often, but now I do it more regularly, where I meditate with sound and ask the sound to help me, because sound is such a potent vehicle for creating your life. So if you're feeling down, you're feeling happy, you're feeling joyous, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling anxious, you can just focus on your sound and allow the sound to carry away your woes. Because sound is encoded with whatever you place on it. So what are you encoding your sound with, right? So you start out, I would like to let this go. And that's what you start out already asking for. What's it going to take for this to go? What's it going to take to have greater clarity around what this is for me, or whatever that may be, right? And if you start using these harmonics, the harmonics, as Jonathan Goldman has said, he talked to a lot of monks and asked them what was it? He said, Yee Ley, what was the most potent part of their sound chanting? And they said it was the harmonics. Okay. So don't take it from me. Don't take it from Jonathan. Take it from the monks if that's what works for you. Because they certainly have taken on the task of chanting for the world and chanting for the planet. And it's fun and it works, because if you have a problem concentrating, just make sound. Gives you something to do, number one. You let the sound and just keep breathing and hold it as long as you can. And then take another breath and hold that sound as long as you can. And you can play with the sounds too. And that you'll notice that you'll fall into a rhythm, which is so cool. Because especially when you're in a group. So we advise you, obviously we do sound meditations in groups. And when the groups do it, everybody like starts on their own. And then all of a sudden everybody comes in and they start breathing together and sounding together. And there's this calm that takes over. It is truly amazing. Just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I highly recommend. It's been amazing. And I've had I was holding a vocal toning circle every Friday at my home. I think it was earlier part this year, and it's just been phenomenal. And people were almost really surprised with themselves, with what they can create and co-create with just the simple vowel sounds. It's so powerful. And just one example, I guess, of what it can create for you. And this lady who showed up, she just was looking for some like-minded people. She didn't know anything about vocal toning or what sound could do. She just wanted to hang out. But I think it's like by the 5th week, she just had phenomenal change. And she called me up saying, I've got MS. And I didn't realize, but she had braces on her legs and she was kind of skinny and after, she'd been I didn't know, but she took it home and she chose, that's a big thing. She chose to use the tools at home, practice the toning with herself. And then by I think it was the 5th or 6th week, she came around like it was Friday, and then she came around the next day one day, and she just looked so different. And she's like, Yee Ley, like, I think I no longer suffer from MS symptoms anymore. And it was just like, what? But she had no expectation of that's what was going to happen. It just, that was the change for her,
Right.
And what sound can create. And she just looked amazing. She looked fuller, more present, and had a zest for life that she thought she'd lost.
How wonderful. That's just wonderful. Self-created sound. Everybody has this gift. Every single person, every single human being on this planet can make sound. And it's something that we can share, and it's something that is so powerful. Connected with your thought or your intention, as a lot of people say, we like to call it your ask, or whatever it is that you're asking for. What are you asking for? And it will literally, it will bring you to that space of connecting with the universe and God and Buddha, or whoever it is that you're connecting to. They're going to hear you.
Absolutely. 108 ohms and on.
So if let's see, did we want to read a little bit of Jonathan? Did you want to read a little bit of what he says about harmonics, and seeing you have it printed out?
Yeah, can do. Hopefully got the same article. I know we spoke before we went live. Yeah, I got his article too. Okay, I'll read it. Harmonics or overtones are the phenomenon of sound that occurs whenever sound is created. All sounds that are produced are not single tones, but mixtures of pure tone frequencies or harmonics. There is a fundamental tone as well as overtones, which make up the spectrum of sound. These harmonics are geometric multiples of the fundamental, meaning that if the fundamental frequency is 100 cycles per second and the next overtone vibrates twice as fast at 200 cycles per second, and the next overtone vibrates 3 times faster at 300 cycles per second, and so on. Is this the same article?
I think it's a little different, so that's great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Harmonics are just responsible for the tone, color, or the timbre of different instruments and our voices. Just as you can hold a prism to white light and refract the different colors of the rainbow, it's possible to learn how to use your voice to break up the harmonics into specific sound frequencies.
How cool is that? So basically what we're saying is that it's a prism. It's like light, how light moves through a prism. And you've all have seen that, where you have all of these different colors reflected on the ground when the sunlight comes through a prism. It's the same thing with harmonics. It's just that it's a great way of visualizing what happens with sound.
Yeah.
When it's got all of these different layers, and it's how you can identify instruments. Exactly. Yeah. You know when you hear it.
I just got an additional bit here where it says that from a scientific and physiological viewpoint, harmonics seem to be the frequencies that affect the nervous system and the brain. So Dr. Alfred Tomatis indicates high frequency sounds, which is the harmonics that we were talking about, may actually charge the brain.
Ooh. But you guys don't want any charging of the brain, right? So forget it. Don't even try any of this self-created sound stuff, because it probably won't work for you.
No.
So that's awesome. So once again, so that's the breakdown. Science is catching up, but we all know how powerful sound is. So one of the things I had clipped from some article. This is all benefit from the unique experience of a single individual. When enough of you experience or create similar vibrational frequencies, it amplifies the signature, broadcasting it and making it easily available to many. So when you do it, a lot of people actually are affected by it. You can think of it like a radio signal being broadcast. Once the volume is up, more people can hear the broadcast. The stronger the signal, the farther it can be sent. So the harmonics are part of that stronger signal, so they can go even farther.
So what if we are walking, talking radio stations consistently broadcasting our signal, and it's like, what are we broadcasting out there to the world, and what are we receiving?
Right.
You
And
know?
what is it? And in fact, as soon as you walk into a same space as somebody, there is a communication. But when
Yeah.
when you allow yourself to broadcast those good vibes because you've been meditating with your sound, imagine how you can change the world.
Absolutely. What beautiful co-created symphonies can we create
Yes,
when
yes,
we're in
yes.
this harmonic convergence? Oh, that's the 80s term, but yeah, hey.
So look, we're winding down. We're getting close to the end. Does anyone have any questions? I know that we have. I see Moises Dominguez online. Hi, thank you for joining in. And if you have any questions, you can ask us. If anybody else have any questions, please let us know. I think there's also a chat here. I haven't really used Zoom excessively, but I know that that people can ask questions at this point before we have to say, I have to say good night, and you guys and Yee Ley has to say good evening. So, no questions? No? Did you enjoy yourself? Fantastic. We thank you for joining us. I think, Yee Ley, I think that we should do this. I think we should start a habit of this lovely conversation about sound. How does that sound to you?
Yeah.
It sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I will be talking to you. We're going to come up with our next subject and what we're going to play with. And maybe we'll even do a small meditation next time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it. Just making sounds now. Today I had a 4-year-old. Oh my God. I had a 4-year-old singing student. She was bouncing off the walls. It was so much fun. So much fun. So on that note, thank you so much. Thank you, Yee Ley. In New Zealand, I adore you. We're gonna get together and do this live as well. Moises, thank you for joining us, and thank you all who have been listening. Ciao, ciao for now, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.